I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am trying to get this off my chest. My name is Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for over 10 years. We've got a daughter, Emily, who's 12 and obsessed with volleyball. Lisa, been a pretty controlling wife, always bossing around Emily about her training, pushing her to be perfect. At first, I thought she was just passionate, but lately, I've started noticing things that didn't sit right. For weeks, Lisa's been acting strange. She'd come home late from book club, always with a weird, defensive attitude if I asked her what she was doing. I'd catch her sneaking her phone behind her back, deleting messages quickly, and she'd get bitchy if I tried to look over her shoulder. She'd lie about where she was, who she was with, and whenever I pressed her, she'd say I was being paranoid or jealous. Honestly, I didn't want to believe anything was going on, but her words and actions just didn't add up. Then, a few days ago, I got called into Emily's volleyball camp because she was having some issues. I thought I'd surprise her by watching her training, maybe cheer her on a bit. I parked outside the gym waiting for her to finish, and that's when I saw it. I saw Lisa, my wife, kissing the volleyball coach Mark right there in the parking lot. It was brief, but I saw enough. It was unmistakable, the way they touched, the way she looked at him. I felt my stomach drop. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife cheating on me with Emily's coach during her training camp. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I kept watching. Mark looked nervous but pleased, and Lisa was laughing, acting flirtatious. When they finally pulled apart, Lisa quickly smoothed her hair and went into the gym as if nothing had happened. I stayed in the car trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind was racing. How long has this been going on? Who is Mark really? And what does this mean for my family? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. I wanted to confront her right then, but I also knew I needed a plan. I couldn't just blow up without thinking this through. Later that night, I sat in our living room, replaying what I saw over and over. Lisa was in the kitchen, bitchy as usual, brushing her hair and talking on the phone with someone. I couldn't help but overhear her saying, "Yeah, everything's fine, don't worry about it," with that sneering tone she always uses when she's lying. I felt like my blood was boiling. I knew she'd deny everything if I asked. I decided I'd gather more evidence before saying a word. I needed proof, proof I could show her, proof I could use. That's when I started thinking about how to handle this. I've been blindsided, yes, but I wasn't going to let her get away with cheating and lying. I'd always been the patient one, the good husband, the one who believed in fixing things. But this was different. It cut too deep. I felt like my world was crumbling, and I needed to figure out what I was going to do next. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was okay. Not anymore. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a train. My head was pounding, my stomach was in knots, and all I could think about was that kiss in the parking lot. I knew I needed more concrete evidence before I could confront Lisa, but damn, it was hard to keep my cool. I decided I'd go back to the gym that afternoon, maybe catch her in the act again, or better yet, find some proof that would make it impossible for her to deny. I spent the whole day obsessing over what to do, reviewing everything I'd seen, replaying the moment in my mind like some sick movie. Around 4 p.m., I slipped out of work early, pretending I had a meeting. I parked across the street from the gym again, trying to look inconspicuous. This time, I brought my phone camera just in case I caught anything new. I waited for about 20 minutes and then I saw her. Lisa, walking confidently toward the gym, her hair perfectly styled, her fake smile plastered on her face. She looked completely normal, too normal, honestly. Then, a few minutes later, Mark appeared, walking up to her with that cocky grin of his. They exchanged a quick glance, and suddenly they were in the parking lot again, behind some trees. This time I saw much more. They weren't just kissing. Were going at it, full on making out while she pressed her body against his. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was like some kind of sick soap opera. They looked like they were about to go inside, but I caught enough to know this was real. She was cheating on me with my daughter's volleyball coach, someone who was supposed to be guiding Emily, not sleeping with her mother. I felt my fists clench. My mind raced. Should I rush in, yell at her, call her out? Or should I wait and think about the best way to handle this? I knew she'd deny everything if I confronted her now, so I decided not to blow my cover just yet. Instead, I kept recording, making sure I had all the evidence I needed. When they finally separated, Lisa looked around nervously, then headed inside the gym with a smirk on her face. Mark drove off quickly, probably to avoid me. I stayed in my car until they disappeared, heart pounding. I started feeling sick. How had I missed all the signs? How long has this been going on? My mind was a mess of anger, sadness, and confusion. I got back home that evening and sat in silence for a long time. Lisa was in the kitchen, fussing over Emily, acting like nothing had happened. But I knew better. I knew the truth now, and I was furious. Not just because she cheated, but because she lied about everything. Her book clubs, her late nights, her phone calls. All lies. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I kept replaying everything, trying to figure out what to do next. My trust was shattered, and I realized that nothing was going to be the same after this. I kept thinking about my daughter, Emily, and how she's going to grow up with a mother who's a cheat. It hurt knowing the woman I loved and trusted had been lying to me right under my nose. I kept asking myself, how do I rebuild from this? Or is this the end of us? I had no answers yet, only a sinking feeling that I was about to face a war I wasn't prepared for. The morning after I gathered all that evidence, I knew I couldn't keep quiet any longer. I had enough. I had to confront Lisa, but I also knew I needed to plan my words carefully. I didn't want to blow up the marriage without knowing what I was walking into. Still, the anger was boiling inside me. I felt like a fool. For years, I thought I knew my wife, and now I was faced with this betrayal, this lie that had been hiding in plain sight. Lisa was in the kitchen, snipping at Emily about her breakfast, acting like everything was normal. I stood in the doorway, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lisa," I said, each word feeling like a punch. "Need to talk now." She looked up, her eyes narrowing. "What's this about?" "I'm busy," she snapped, brushing her hair back with a fake smile that did nothing to hide her irritation. "No, you're not busy," I shot back. "You've been lying to me for months. I saw you today kissing Mark in the parking lot. How long has this been going on?" Her face twisted into something bitter. "Oh, so now you're spying on me? Seriously, you've got no right." "I saw enough," I interrupted. "I saw you cheating on me, Lisa. With Mark while Emily's at camp, during her training. How long have you been screwing him?" She snorted, rolling her eyes. "Please, that's ridiculous. Mark's just a friend. You're overreacting as usual. You always think the worst. Maybe if you paid more attention to Emily instead of stalking me, this wouldn't be an issue." That made my blood boil. "Don't give me that. I saw you kissing him. I've got video. I've got pictures. You're a liar, and I'm done pretending everything's okay." She crossed her arms, staring at me with that bitchy smirk. "You're such a drama queen, Mike. You think I'd do something like that? Grow up. You're jealous because I'm not interested in your boring ass anymore. Mark's just helping Emily with her training, and I happen to talk to him sometimes. Big deal." I felt my fists tighten. "Don't lie to me, Lisa. Your attitude, your tone, it's all bullshit. I've known you too long. You're a manipulative bitch, and I'm sick of your lies." She stepped closer, sneering. "If you think you're gonna threaten me or control me, you're dead wrong. I do what I want. You're just a boring, insecure loser." I stared at her, stunned by her blatant disrespect, her utter lack of remorse. Part of me wanted to blow up, scream at her, break something, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I just looked her in the eyes and said, "You've crossed a line, Lisa. You're done. I want a divorce, and I want you to move out." Her eyes widened for a moment, then she threw her head back and laughed. "What? You're serious over this? You're so pathetic. You think you can just throw me away because I had a little fun? You're nothing. You're weak." I took a step forward. "No, Lisa, I'm done. I've had enough. You lied, you cheated, and you disrespected me and our daughter. I deserve better than this." She looked furious now, her face flushing with rage. "Fine, if you want to play the victim, go ahead, but you'll regret this. Mark's a good guy, and I'll be fine without you." I knew I had to stick to my decision. I told her to pack her things and leave. She stormed out, cursing under her breath and slamming the door behind her. I stood there in silence, feeling a weird mix of relief, anger, and sadness. I'd finally confronted her, and I'd made it clear I wasn't going to tolerate her bullshit anymore. Still, the pain was sharp. Deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of a long, messy process. That night I sat alone, staring at the wall. I kept replaying everything, her betrayal, her lies, her sneering face. I wondered how I'd get through this, whether I'd be better off without her. The trust I'd once had in her was shattered, and I didn't see how we could ever fix this mess. I felt broken, but at the same time, strangely, a little bit free. I realized I'd been quietly dying inside, pretending everything was fine, and now, at least, I finally had clarity. I knew I had to move on, but the scars of this betrayal would stay with me for a long time. The question was, how much longer could I pretend everything would be all right? The days that followed were the worst I've ever experienced. After Lisa left, the house was eerily quiet. No more fights, no more sneering comments, just silence and the weight of everything she'd done hanging over me. Being alone in that house, knowing what she'd been up to behind my back, that she'd been sneaking around, lying and cheating on me with Mark, made me feel sick. I kept going over the videos in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could she do this? How did I not see it coming? I knew I needed to do something. I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I started making calls, talking to a lawyer, trying to understand what my options were. It was clear I'd have to file for divorce, but I also wanted to know about custody, finances, and how to protect myself legally. The whole process was overwhelming, but I knew I had to be smart. I couldn't let Lisa manipulate me, not after what she did. Meanwhile, I kept a close eye on Emily. The poor girl had no idea about her mother's betrayal. I wanted to protect her from all the drama, but I also knew I had to tell her something eventually. She was such a sweet kid, and I didn't want her growing up thinking her mother was a liar and a cheat. I started slowly talking to her about honesty, about how sometimes adults make mistakes but they should own up to them. She sensed that something was wrong, though, and I could see the confusion in her eyes. One evening, Emily came up to me with a worried look. "Dad, is Mama coming back? I miss her," she said quietly. My heart broke. I knelt down, took her small hands in mine, and told her I didn't know. I explained that sometimes people make choices that hurt others, and that Mama was probably upset and needed time. I told her that I loved her and that I was going to do my best to keep everything okay for her. She looked at me with wide, innocent eyes, and I knew I had to be strong, not just for me but for her too. As the week went on, I continued gathering proof and preparing for what was next. I knew Lisa would try to manipulate the situation, maybe come back, or even try to turn Emily against me. I had to stay calm and focused. I also started thinking about how to rebuild my life. I realized I'd been so caught up in trying to keep everything perfect, to hold everything together, that I'd forgotten to take care of myself. I'd lost my sense of identity somewhere along the way, and now I had to rediscover who I was outside of that marriage. One night I sat in my living room, staring at the photos of Emily and me. Memories flooded in, our trips to the park, her first day at school, her laughter echoing in my mind. I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was a wake-up call. Maybe I could finally start living for myself. I'd been so focused on her mother's lies that I'd lost sight of what really mattered: being there for my daughter, finding happiness again, and rebuilding trust in myself. That's when I decided I wouldn't let Lisa win. If she thought she could cheat, lie, and walk all over me, she had another thing coming. I'd protect Emily, take care of myself, and move forward, better, stronger, wiser. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I also knew I couldn't stay stuck in this misery forever. I'd face whatever came next, one step at a time, and I'd come out the other side. Maybe bruised, maybe some scars, but still standing, because at the end of the day I had to believe I deserved better than this betrayal. I owed that to myself and to Emily. The next couple of weeks were a whirlwind. I was doing everything I could to stay afloat: lawyer meetings, sorting out the house, figuring out the custody arrangement. Each day felt like a battle just to keep my head above water. The thing about betrayal like this is that it hits you in every corner of your life. I'd see her face in my mind, hear her voice, remember how she used to laugh and joke, and then immediately feel that stabbing pain of abandonment. It was like a punch to the gut every time I thought I might start to feel normal again. One night, I finally decided to confront the situation head-on. I made a list of everything I knew: her lies, her affair with Mark, the things I'd overheard, seen, and recorded. I wanted to get it all out, to be prepared. I knew Lisa would try to twist everything, to deny or minimize her actions, so I had to be ready. I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness, anger that she'd hurt me so badly and sadness that I ever let it get this far. I'd always thought we had something real, something worth fighting for. Now I wasn't so sure. I also reached out to Emily's coach, Mark. I needed to understand who he was, how long this might have been going on, whether he knew what he was doing. I didn't want to jump to conclusions or do anything reckless, but I needed facts. When I finally spoke to Mark, he was defensive, trying to deny everything, saying Lisa was just trying to help Emily. But I could hear the guilt in his voice, and I knew he was lying. I asked him outright if he'd been sleeping with Lisa, and he didn't deny it. Just mumbled something about working together and helping Emily, but I saw through him. The guy was a liar just like her. That night I sat in my quiet house, feeling the weight of it all. I thought about how I'd been played, how Lisa had manipulated me for her own selfish reasons. I'd been stupid enough to believe her lies, to think she was just busy with her book club, or whatever excuse she'd come up with. But now I saw the truth, the cold, ugly truth, and it made me hate her even more. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was just a manipulative, selfish bitch who'd thrown everything away for some cheap sex with her coach. I started to realize that I couldn't keep living in the past in that false sense of hope. I had to accept what was real and move on. I decided I'd give Emily the stability she needed, protect her from all of this chaos, and focus on rebuilding my life. I knew Lisa wouldn't just disappear quietly. She was the type to fight dirty, to try and turn everyone against me. But I refused to be the victim anymore. I was going to take control, even if it meant cutting ties with her completely. In that moment, I made a conscious choice. I wouldn't let her destroy me or Emily. I'd be the father she needed, even if it meant doing it alone. I'd rebuild my foundation, find my happiness, and make sure Emily knew she was loved no matter what. I'd learned that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to repair, but I could still find a way to move forward. For myself, for Emily, for whatever small piece of dignity I had left. Because at the end of the day, I realized I deserved better than a wife who cheated, lied, and sneered her way through life. And I wasn't going to let her take that away from me. The final few weeks have been a blur of legal meetings, emotional exhaustion, and trying to hold everything together for Emily's sake. I won't lie, this has been the hardest thing I've ever gone through. Every morning I wake up with a knot in my stomach, knowing I've lost the woman I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. But at the same time, I feel a strange sense of relief. I finally see everything clearly now, her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. And I realize that I don't have to keep pretending I'm okay with it. The divorce was finalized last month. Lisa moved out, and I can't deny that I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Still, there's this lingering ache inside, a kind of grief for what could have been if things had been different. But I also know I've gained something precious, myself back. I've learned to stand up for what I deserve, to recognize the red flags early, and to trust my instincts. I've also learned that sometimes love isn't enough. People change, and some betrayals cut so deep that they leave permanent scars. Emily is doing better. She's a resilient girl, and I make sure she knows she's loved every single day. We talk a lot about honesty and trust now, and I try to be the kind of dad she can always count on. I've started going to therapy, something I should have done a long time ago, to process everything, to make sense of the anger and sadness I've been holding in. It's helped. I'm learning to forgive myself for the times I ignored the signs, for not seeing the betrayal sooner. I'm starting to see that I was a victim, but I'm also a survivor. Looking back, I wish I could tell anyone going through something similar to trust their gut. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how much you want to believe in the best in someone. Because once the truth comes out, it's like a wrecking ball to everything. You thought you knew, but I also want to say that you can survive it. You can come out stronger even if it doesn't feel like it at first. Now I focus on the future. I've started dating again, cautiously. I don't rush into anything, but I know I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty, and who doesn't cheat behind my back. I've learned that I can't control other people's choices, but I can control how I respond. And I choose to heal, to grow, and to never let anyone treat me like that again. So here's my final takeaway: trust yourself. Don't let fear or hope blind you to the truth. And when you finally realize you've been betrayed, don't stay stuck in the pain. Use it as a catalyst for change. Because honestly, I believe that even the worst betrayals can lead to something better if you let them. I might have lost her, but I've found a new sense of strength I never knew I had. And I plan to hold on to it.